Hello and welcome to Spare Change Podcast. Today I have on Kirby Williams. Kirby, we met for the first time recently at FinCon. Just wanted to go over some
The MoneyCon.
key, Mel MoneyCon. But some key things that I want everyone to know about you. You know, you're a female owner of a business, but that wasn't really the start. You started working in the business, and now you're at a point where there's so much going right. You've worked with the FDIC, the Social Security Administration. You've worked with military communities, veterans, and even beyond those frameworks, you work to help a lot of people discover ways that they can benefit themselves financially. You got a bunch of big cards behind you with sliding calculators. Tell us about it.
Okay, so this is a slide calculator. This is a gigantic one, which is kind of helpful for this, but we're gonna show you they come in a littler size, which is maybe there's an iPhone, so this is about the size of your
Awesome. Yeah,
um
fits right in the
but
pocket.
yeah, so the idea is that you pull the slide. Um so I'm gonna hold it up. How much money did you spend today? Do you know? I can do an estimate for me.
I want to. I had to buy. Let's do Thursday. Thursday was better for this purpose because I
Okay.
bought gas and I bought lunch and then I bought dinner. So we'll,
You probably don't spend that much every day. So let's just I mean, I will give my example is I used to spend $14 a day, which is actually humongous, but that seven of that was at Starbucks. So and actually that one order is like $15 now. So but let's just pull it up. So you're pulling 14. And then you have some ideas down here of things that, if you get you started on sort of figuring out but you don't have to do any math. You can just play with it. And it's 5,000 up. There we go. Spend $14 less a day on average. You'll have $5,110 more a year. That's not invested. That's not in a bank account. That could be under your mattress. That would start to get to be kind of a lumpy mattress. And then you turn it around and it shows you, and then I'm so bad at getting this on
oh
here.
no,
There we go.
I can read it, so you should be
So
fine.
in 20 years, $102,000. 5 years, $25,000. And then people can, and here we go, here, Marine Corps. You can put your logo on there, QR code. And so obviously this one would be for, like display, or if you had a conference or an event, or get people to come into your office and have a budgeting talk and sort of fool around with it. But the regular sized ones, I think, are first of all, for an agency, they're a great marketing tool to get people sort of like, well, what's this? I'm going to play with this. Whereas, if you have a typical website or typical app, nothing bad about apps and nothing bad about websites. I spend all day on the computer. But I think it's helpful to have something that's tactile and interactive, and that, frankly, that doesn't have a button on it that you can use to hit to go somewhere else. So, along with being simple and very easy to use, and you didn't have to, if you have, fingers, you can use it, as opposed to, okay, well, here, this calculator is asking me to get my W-2 out. What's a W-2? And then the next, so basically you didn't have to know anything going in. You could just mess around with it, or you could be me and have calculated back in a million years ago that I spent $14 a day. And then at the time, it was actually, I had taken this job at Advantage as a marketing assistant, and it was 2008, and the stock market had crashed, and there were no jobs. And so I did not know that this, it sounds absolutely insane. The website for Advantage was terrible back then. I hope it's better now because I designed it. So, anyone can say whatever they want about that, but it was horrific in that it certainly didn't explain very much about what they published. But I was getting very desperate for a job. I had moved to Boston and had an apartment and met actually the man that was going to become my husband. and I now shared a lease with him, and I'd only been there for like 6 months, but I already like sort of had it, felt like I had that all figured out. And I didn't want to move home. But I had been a financial recruiter, which was also kind of ironic, because it certainly wasn't the world that I ever imagined myself in. I thought maybe, children's books, fine arts. I have a fine arts degree and a history degree. I was just a couple credits shy of a third major in English. So it just, all those things, pretty dresses. I was asking my son the other day, what do you think mommy should have done when she grew up? And I said, well, what is, what does she like? And he was like, you like coffee, you like pretty dresses, you like naps, you like pretty pictures. And I was like, and I said, what does mommy do now? And he said, the calculators. And I said, yeah. And I said, what do they have on them? And he goes, numbers. I was like,
Numbers, yeah.
numbers. But yeah, because so I went to this interview, which the job posting was on Craigslist. So if you're old enough, you probably know how creepy that sounds. And yeah, it was creepy. It was like, honestly, it was at a good address in Boston, and I just had a gut feeling, and so I went for it. I guess I thought, just watch your back and go in, and it just felt like the ad was just talked about being able to sort of do different things every day and advance in a company that worked with words, and I like words. And so I went to the interview, and I met Victor Clayman, who founded Advantage and who came up with these calculators, mostly originally to show people about their retirement accounts, because that was back in the day when a lot of employers had their own pension plans and retirement accounts, and people weren't taking advantage of that enough. And if the employer matched, or even half, and you did any sort of percentage of a match of what you were putting in, and you didn't meet that, hello BRS and TR and TSP people, let's talk about that later. But if you didn't do that, now a lot of employers in the civilian world do not have retirement plans or a match or anything like that. Military still does, but if you didn't take advantage of that match in terms of what you were contributing each month, which might not have been a lot of extra dollars, or it might have felt like a lot of extra dollars, but that's it really depends. But if you didn't take advantage at least as much as you could, you were leaving a lot of money on the table, especially when you thought about it in terms of 10, 20 years later. And so he invented they're really crazy, I think these were used for, tip calculators, and for people to calculate things on cars, like mechanics, to calculate what kind of wheel size you need. Or but he came up with this idea for retirement plans, and then he was at a financial conference in, I think, maybe 1992, so I was in second grade, and someone came up to him afterward from the military, and they said, we really like what you're doing, but I need you to make a different one. And he said, okay, what do you want them to do? And he said, well, I have this problem. I can get them into the TSP, and I can talk to them about all sorts of things, but I can't get them to stop buying beef jerky at the commissary. And can you make something that'll make them stop buying that, or at least understand what they're doing, which is sort of the goal. It's not really necessarily to make you stop something or to take something away from you. It's just to understand the information. And so
I was going
Victor
to say,
came
I'm
up with
pretty guilty of the
calculator.
beef jerky.
Yeah. That this very one. And that, that was sort of the real start. I think the start was the retirement stuff, but the real start was when he realized the behavior changes that you can get, not by telling somebody what to do, but by showing somebody just what what it costs. Not even what it costs when you do it, but just what it costs. Just no judgment. And he sort of took that idea forward. And so back, when I met him for the interview, in 2008, I we talked, and I thought, we were both came from liberal arts backgrounds, and so therefore we like to talk a lot and talk about thinking and concepts a lot. And so we did that, and I kept thinking, I really want to work for this guy. This is different, certainly, than anything that's out there right now. There's nothing out there. There's no jobs. I was a hostess at Uno's restaurant. Um, I want to work with this guy. I wonder what he publishes. And so it got to the very end of the first interview, and he showed me a slide calculator. And I think I was too sort of like caught up in trying to look professional and good for the interview that I sort of just glanced at it, I guess. And oh, this is really great. Oh yeah. And then second interview, more talking, because we were going to be working very closely together and really brainstorming a lot. And I was going to need to sort of be his computer person and his graphic design person, at least for, not necessarily for making things really look pretty, but for conceptual stuff. And so he really needed to know if he could work with me, and if we would really be able to not only just sort of gel, like, oh yeah, see each other when you grab coffee, but really get into it and really create new products and that kind of thing, which I didn't really obviously get at the time, but I knew that I liked him, and I knew that we could have a good conversation, and that we seemed to believe in the same stuff. Um, and again, so then he showed me, I saw the calculator again. And by this point, it's been 2 interviews, and I had not had any other interviews in this period of time. And I thought, oh my God, this is basically like, it's sort of like, you think, am I on a TV show right now? Are the cameras going to come out? Like, my whole family's laughing. Like, Kirby, guess what? It's the 2 things that you are officially the worst at: math and money. Guess what? This is your life. You now have just spent two interviews convincing somebody that you desperately want to talk about math and money all the time, and that you could actually function in that world. And the secret that I don't think that Victor, as an employer, to be, I don't know whether employers to be at this point can check your credit report. um I don't know. I wish I should know that. But he didn't he didn't check my credit report. um because what it would have said, what it did say, was that I was up on time on all my payments and all that. Probably a relatively good credit score, but I was $40,000 in debt, and I was 22. Um, and if that $40,000 was just credit cards and just shopping, it wasn't debt that accomplished. It wasn't my schooling. It wasn't my car. It wasn't anything else. It was just shopping. So that was, it wasn't just like, oh yeah, isn't it hilarious that you're not a math person, really, really not a math person, and that you're not a money person. It was sort of like, um, here's your secret shame, and you get to live with that every single day and talk about it, in the light of people who are really working with people who've been dealt kind of a really rough hand in life, and they're working to dig themselves out. And I hadn't. I was making my minimum payments, but I I was the only one who knew about this debt, and it was my secret shame. And yet here I was, and I could have just walked away, I guess. I could have just said, see you. I'll find another thing. You'll find another person who, first of all, knows graphic design, because I didn't yet. You'll find somebody who can create products with you and talk about money and represent this company at conferences, and fit the bill. But for some reason, I think I think kind of, fate pushed me in the right direction of go where go to something that's hard. Go to something that is a challenge. um very competitive with my with you know with anyone else, but also with myself. And I think there was something that was sort of like, show this part of yourself, and also the others around you in your life who have made you think that you are horrific at math and all these other things. um, Show them that you can do this. um, and so I continued on, and we had two more interviews, and at one point I finally was up against one other person who knew graphic design, and I said, pay me less. I really want this. I understand that I don't know this program. I don't know it, but I will learn it, and so pay me less. And I don't necessarily recommend that as a negotiating technique for
Right.
everybody. But that's, that was kind of a long time ago in terms of where we were negotiating, and it was also a last minute, last ditch thing. So he ended up, instead of $30,000 a year, which was the salary, and in 2008 that was good. It was okay for your first job. He paid me 29, and that was fine. That was not the part I was worried about. I was worried about the part where I was going to have to look at these things all the time, and talk to, I wasn't even ready for, I mean, like, the real snake for me was credit card smarts. And it took me months, maybe, of stuffing sample packets, and because we send samples out, we still do for free, because it's very hard to describe what this is. If you try it, you will go, oh, okay, I get it. It's very, very hard to describe it, and to have somebody think, well, of course that makes sense. I want to buy that to give to my employees. So we would send these packets out, and there I would be at each title, and you have to check to make sure it slides. But on this one, I would not look very carefully, because you have to pull to your debt. So find your current debt. It starts at $6,000. So here, let's go. We're pulling up. We maxed out. Let's see. Where does it end? It ends at 25,000. So obviously 40 is not on here. But I didn't pull this and look at it in that way. I would say 4 or 5 months. And so if I had, so now, let's imagine that we have, let's see, we want to do a 25,000. So this is, let's see, if you pay just the minimum each month, you will pay a total of $48,984 for your debt, including $23,984 in interest charges, and you will make monthly payments for 25 years. And it's actually worse than that, because this is an annual interest rate of 18%, and that, if you are just starting out in life, and don't have a credit score, or much of a credit score or credit history, or other big purchases like a loan on your that is in good standing on your file, they are now charging pretty basic rate is not 18% but 28%. So
APR is high.
Yeah.
And it's only
you're actually doing, I mean, like, scarily, you're actually doing pretty good on that. And I have been thinking about revising that, but I don't know. But the main point is that I was in the room with this stuff every day, and I was scared to look at it, because I thought for sure that when I slid the slide up, and I didn't know how far it went, but I was pretty sure it probably didn't go to 4,000. That basically the bottom line, there was going to be like an extra line here on the calculator. It was going to be, you are fucked officially. You thought you were. You really thought you were. you're making a minimum payment each month. It's all, everything is, account is in good standing, all that. But guess what? You're really fucked. That was stupid what you did. And you're going to be making payments forever. You can't help yourself. It's official. The finance world has spoken. Kirby is fucked. That's what I thought it was going to say. That's what I thought I was going to feel. And I wasn't ready to feel that because I already felt bad enough. So the front side of this is pretty scary, actually. I'll tell you why I finally looked at it. I was talking one day to, back then you did a lot of, all the orders were on the phone. So you need a little phone and you talk to them for a while. And my job was not just to take the order and write down, their name and send it to them and all that. It was also to ask them what they were going to use it for and how they were going to use it, because we really didn't know. It wasn't like you had Instagram and you could say, oh, look, there's a picture of them using it in their class and yay, financial education. We just really didn't know necessarily. We knew what an agency bought it, but we didn't know how they were going to use it. So I asked this woman who had gotten a grant for $200. Might have even been like less than 200, like 197.50 or something. And she had written the grant application and gotten a grant for 50 calculators or something, some number that was just, it felt almost like, when she told me this, it felt like I should just send her that number of free samples because because she was going to use it with women who were registered in WIC, which is a program to help women get assistance for their children. So like, milk and fruit and
Right.
Stuff that we don't even, especially the background that I had come from, my dad had told me about WIC because he was a grant writer. So I remember the way that he described it, just feeling like I still can't believe that there are people out there who need this assistance and that we're not, that it's yikes. That just feels so, so horrific on so many different levels. The system is broken, etc. And so this woman had written a grant specifically to get these calculators. It was the spending money one. It was not the credit card one, but and she was so excited. And she told me, like, that she had used these before and they were so helpful with this group of people, this group of moms. And I just had I hung up the phone with her and I had this moment of like, guess what? We're going to go into the sample room right now, which was like sort of our mail room, and we're going to look at the calculator. We're going to woman up and because I mean, these women, like, for God's sakes, I went to Burberry and bought a $4,000 handbag and like so many other things that and felt bad about that and had this debt and completely. It was me doing it the whole time. It wasn't life or what anything that some bad hand that I'd been dealt. And so it was really pivotal for me to be like, we're gonna look. So I did. I looked at the front side and found out it wouldn't slide to my whole debt, which was kind of funny and ironic. And then the other side. So let's go. So remember, you were going to be in debt for 25 years for $25,000, and you were going to pay almost $25,000 in interest. So let's keep it. Turn it over. So let's see. If you pay is just basically if you pay just a little bit more, and obviously for $25,000, it's kind of a pretty high minimum payment anyway.
Right.
But what if you found $250? You can reduce your years in debt from 25 to 16, and you can reduce the amount of interest that you're giving them, and you can you're saving almost $10,000. And obviously, some of these numbers, I mean, I think for most people, for me, they feel, it feels kind of scary just to think, well, how was I even finding $750 anyway, a month to pay
Right.
more actually. But so I'm honestly not sure because I was making my payments, but um, if the $200 extra, or $250 extra, could I find that? Um, yeah, actually, because on the other calculator, as I said, I was spending uh $14 a day, and that was with this debt. I mean, I still had this debt, and I was still spending that. So it sort of felt as if that was $5,000 a year. So let's go back to our so when you have $5,000 a year, then you get to 5 years, $25,000. So there, right there. That's, again, that's not invested. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't have, the savings accounts had no interest rates then, so it wasn't like you could get any. So that's just the money that you would save.
Right.
That's There you are. I mean, 25,000. That's not just adding to the minimum payment. That's, in 5 years you could clear this debt. You can make this go away. And
Awesome.
I thought I was going to see, you're fucked. And instead, I saw, you can do something about this. You don't need, you don't need to go crying to your parents. You don't need to go and, necessarily, I mean, maybe I should have, gone to a consumer credit counseling agency and asked for help. Maybe I probably should have done that, but I really didn't want to. You don't have to do anything other than take things like bottled water and magazines about Britney Spears, who was going through a hell of a time in 2008. Um, you can do something about this, and I did. Um, I did. I started to work on it, but it was that realization that finance and money discussions and money tools aren't all out to tell you you're fucked and you did it wrong and you screwed up. Um, some of them, some of them might actually offer you some helpful advice that might not make you feel bad about yourself. It might actually be worth following, and you might actually be able to follow it. So that, for me, I was shocked. I was like, I was bowled over. And so the fact that, I worked there, that was pretty cool. But it was also sort of like, oh my God, this applies to me. This applies to me too. And so because of seeing that, I started to want to learn how to design these tools too. And so we just the 2 years later, we were tracing a contract with the Social Security Administration, and that was the first calculator that I ever sort of drew up a rough concept on Quark graphic design, and it was Quark 8, which I think they're probably up to like Quark 45 now. But I mean, it was a big first thing to go after, but it happened, and the Social Security Administration came out with these little mini guys and 3x5 size ones, to just basically for the to get the idea across to baby boomers that if you were relying on Social Security alone, it wasn't going to be enough, and so you should work to save, which sounds really, really, really basic. But the Social Security Administration, I guess, was going around giving these presentations and saying, saying that, but it wasn't coming across as a way that people were really leaving with the information and doing anything with it. So Victor saw, saw a calculator, and at that point, I didn't think in calculator yet, but I do now. Sometimes I was probably really obnoxious where someone gives a presentation. I'm like, that's a calculator. Oh my
And
God. Yeah.
so much of it, what you talked about is like e- from the calculator to your own personal situation to what people all over the world are going through with money, whether it's 2008 or it's now. And we can look at both of the time periods and see like very striking similarities. But the money topic seems so overwhelming up front. And then once you dive in, you get a little familiar. You'll start to build competence and confidence in what you're doing, and you can really climb out of a bad situation. And I think your story is great. So, like, definitely loved hearing all of the things that you went through to get to the point that you're at now. Um, and all of the people that I've talked to, the people that introduced me to you, it all builds upon itself. So whether it's Brandon's lessons on like choice architecture and like being overwhelmed by things, having way too many choices at hand to resolve a situation, or the way that prizes and punishments work, where there's no prize dangled in front of you for doing the right thing with money, but there's a whole lot of punishments that get put right in your face if
Yep.
you're doing the wrong thing. So I think all of these different points come together in such a way that they tell a story. It's like, you know everyone in a negative financial situation, it does feel like you're in this dark tunnel and there's not really a light at the end of it. But something as simple as a budget on a 2 by 10 calculator can teach you so much about yourself that you didn't know that you could do. Um, I do want to talk about your experiences as a woman-owned small business, and talk about your experiences getting certified in that. Talk about grant writing and some of the things you've experienced that changed your perspective on money, or some of the challenges you faced personally, even though you already did discuss, $40,000 in debt. So huge, such a big number to overcome, um, especially at 22. So just whatever you think people might not realize that could be helpful. If you have an idea or perspective that people might not hold, but you think is valuable.
Well, okay, let's wow.
I know that was
Um
a lot. Would
no,
you break it
but
down?
I can talk like a lot. So,
Yeah.
so let's see. Becoming certified as an SBA woman owned small business, or a veteran or minority owned small business, is a very daunting looking process. You think, oh yeah, here I am. I'm a woman. It's a business. It's small. I'm one person. You know, shit. You get to the website. I don't know what the veteran owned, minority owned it was, at least last year, it was a beta website testing, so still they're still working on it. Um, at the Small Business Administration website, and you are asked for a lot of information. For it starts out very slow softballs with just who are you and that kind of stuff, and then it goes a little bit more and a little bit more in terms of I mean, for us, we were established as an S corp long before I even started as an employee, um, and so that adds a lot of complexity in terms of documents. But because Victor was very assiduous in terms of doing all the right things. We had the documents, so that that was, I would imagine it's slightly more simple in terms of documents for sole proprietor or LLC. Um, it's very, very easy to get overwhelmed. It's very, very easy to it's a computer system. So sometimes, um, have you ever been like at a restaurant and you look at their menu and it's written in a complete, it feels like it's written in a completely different language. It's not written in, it's written in like, you know, um, creme fraiche and things that are drizzled with this, and it's it's fancy talk essentially. But it's still it's English, but it's things, use words that you haven't heard before, words that you're like, how are they combining those? Basically, what the computer system expects is that you know those words. And if you don't put something in sort of the right slot, or you put it in and it's not, it's sort of like a round peg, and it's a round hole because it's the right document, but it's labeled wrong. um, you just sort of are sitting there going, I must be putting the peg in the wrong hole. I must be doing this wrong. No, like, for me at least, and I think this is probably pretty common. I got stalled out several times just by my own saying, I don't know where that is. That document, I don't think I have that. I'm scared I don't have that. Oh no, I don't want them to find out. Oh no, basically the biggest most humongous piece of advice I can give is, first of all, if you are a veteran, um, or a woman, who, or my guess, minorities working with the military or the federal government, you have access to PTAC, which is now called the Apex Accelerator group. There should be one in office really, really close to you, and you're maybe in your town or a couple towns away. They're all over the country. There are real people there who are happy to help with this process, and there are, depending on sort of who you are and where you fall, there are other, for the woman-owned small business, there are women entrepreneurship centers and all sorts of things that are run by the SBA, and they're free, and they're right there with people, real live people who are not a computer system, ready to help you. This was during the worst of COVID, so I wasn't going to go out anywhere, and I also was sort of, I was working with my PTAC representative, and she and I both on something hit this wall. Finally, after all this documentation and being denied one time, and given just a little bit of time to turn things, I think it was like 48 hours, some really short amount of time after they reviewed the application for like 4 months, and then all of a sudden they had cleared this massive amount of applications really, really fast, and they wanted to turn things around, and they wanted to produce good documentation that things were closed and new files were open and things were closed. So the SBA was sort of finally getting back on track after not having enough employees for a while. And so I was denied, given 48 hours, and it was because of our doing business as, our DBA name. So we're Insights Incorporated, doing business as Advantage Publications. And I had the official paperwork that showed that I had gone to my town and filled out the little document, business license, saying that we were operating with what's called a fictitious name. And they signed it, and I had the county seal or the town seal on it. And that, great. I uploaded that, and that I had uploaded that 3 months before. And the problem, they kept asking for this document over and over and over again. And I kept saying, I did it. I did that. I did that. And then my PTAC rep started saying, well, she did that. But I was denied. And so we had to figure out in 48 hours why that was. And so the reason that was because in Massachusetts, the municipality or the town issues the document. In other places, it's the county, and the computer system wanted a county document. There is no such thing in Massachusetts. So the computer was saying, no, you do not qualify. You're denied. You're denied. So at that point, my PTAC representative, if she hadn't been in the picture, we would have gone down. But she said, let me put out on my email, this problem, and just basically blast every single person I know and see if I can find somebody over there at the SBA who can help. And so she did that, and within about 15 minutes, she had somebody. I'm not going to give his name because everyone will email him because he's wonderful and can help you. But she had somebody who said, "Hold on, I'll review that. Oh wait, you're right." And he emailed me. He asked me to give him the document. I gave him the document. He looked at this portal, which had every single ridiculous amount of documents because there were so many that I uploaded that I didn't even need because I was just trying to prove that we were real. We were who we were, what we needed to be. And he cleared it. And so by the end of the day, we were, about the application was active again. And then I would say maybe just a couple days later, it felt like it was the same day even, but it was a couple days later we were approved, and that was it. So basically, for that, ask for help is a gigantic one. There are now, especially the centers are open again. The help is free. The help that you kind of can't believe that it's free. I kept, whenever I work with Sandra, who's my representative at Apex Accelerator, which used to be PTAC, she would give me all this advice, and it'd be like 2 hours or an hour long or whatever, and I would think, gosh, what is this call going to cost me? And then it's free. It's free. It's all free. So that's there. I asked for help, and certainly, if you know anyone who's gotten this certification, including me, which you know me now, call me and be like, Kirby, I'm stuck on this, or they said this. Because if you've gone, it's sort of, it's like explaining an airplane ride. It's never been on an airplane, and they're in the air, and they're going, oh yeah, this is turbulence. This is what they're talking about. Oh my gosh, this feels scary. But if you have somebody with you who said, look, this will happen. We'll be, things are gonna be a little bumpy for right now. We're, let's just focus on whatever we're watching on our phones, and take some deep breaths. We're gonna be okay, and get you through it. It's so much easier to I think to get through the process if you work with somebody, first of all, and an actual representative from PTAC or Apex or whatever, but maybe also just a buddy who's been through it, because it's sort of like going back to that menu where it has all those words on it that sound crazy, that you just need someone to decode it for you. So that I think for most people, if you find the actual professional and then maybe a buddy, you'll be able to, even just a buddy to say, you can do this. It's I know this seems impossible, just drive down to the town hall and get this document. You may have to wait in line for a little while, but it's really going to be okay. It's just a document. It's not going to change anything. It's just this piece of paper that says whatever the heck they want you to say. It actually exists. It sounds really weird. You never heard of it before. Don't worry, they'll know what you're talking about. That kind of thing. But yeah, I with that kind of that certification, it has this reputation. People would say to me when I was working on it, or when I had just gotten it, oh my God, I'm working on that. It's so hard. And at the time, I think I kind of wanted to blame the system. But it's just a computer. It doesn't. The people at the SBA who I've met, I certainly haven't met all of them, but the people who I've met have been really helpful and nice and normal, and they're trying to to process a lot of applications at the same time, and so they built a computer system that if you don't say exactly the right word, you don't get to advance along the little maze, but that doesn't mean that you can't talk to somebody, learn the word or whatever it is, or get the document that sounded absurd. Because they just want to make sure that you're who you say you are. And obviously that doesn't seem very difficult, but they have a lot of ways that they do that. So
no, I'd say government developed systems are not the most user friendly, and I don't think they ever have been, but that's by design. I think your story will be helpful both to myself as my wife and I try to start a business and get
Yeah, well,
certified.
you can call. I mean,
Um,
God, you can call me and we'll share a screen, and I'll just be like, dude, yeah,
Kirby will be my my guiding light for that process.
yeah. No, that's the. I'm not worried about that.
But just so many people trying to start businesses, the process can be so intimidating. Just like someone trying to get out of debt, they can be intimidated by those numbers. So I think so much of getting started is just like one, the doing, and two, the knowing how. So if you're missing a piece, it doesn't mean that it's not possible.
No, and I honestly, in full, we operated as a company for what? Let's see, from 1990 to 2022 without a SBA certification. We did a lot for a very very small company with a niche product, and not a big marketing budget or anything. We did a lot of government contracting work without a certification, and Victor was a veteran, so he could have. I said several times to him throughout the years, why don't we click this button that says that you're a veteran? Maybe this will give us a better chance. You deserve this. You served our country. And he's no, and he wouldn't say anything more about it. But he didn't feel. I basically the message I got from the very little he said was that he didn't feel he had served enough, which I think meant he had a desk job. But that counts, Victor. That
Yeah.
counts. That's what they wanted you to do. You did it.
I think a lot of veterans are of the mindset that they haven't like done enough to receive something. And that's neither here nor there, but like it is a very common and unfortunate mindset. And I don't think it's exclusive to the military. I think a lot of people will face imposter syndrome or feel like they don't deserve something, even if it's right there on the table for them. And people will miss out on so many opportunities by doing so. So one of the things I tell people is like, if there's something that you're not able to do on your own, find the help that will allow you
Yes.
to achieve. And then two, like when there's money on the table that someone else believes you've earned, like morals is one thing, but like ignoring something that you have access to is another thing. So don't limit yourself based on your own personal perspective of something.
I mean, I think, for me, I have not yet gotten a official government contract under this certification. Um, and I kind of do feel weird about it in terms of just imagining having it say, having the words on there when a woman owns small business, and having that in my brain mean something less, that I deserve it less, or that I checked a box for somebody, and because of that, maybe some other person who has a great product and a great great team and great ideas got put down. I will say, honestly, about 3 hours ago, I think that so I was researching, reading the Judge Katanji Brown Jackson's dissent of the affirmative action decision yesterday from the Supreme Court, and it is a really beautifully heartfelt piece, but it's also filled with history. And if I really I am I was a history major. I know a lot about some of this stuff, but I don't know anything about some of the other stuff. But she goes very, very, very carefully and thoughtfully and easy to understand. You just got to read for a while, but it's bite-sized bits of the Black experience in America. everything, from slavery on to today. And there's a lot of financial education and what wasn't given to African Americans, information. A lot more of that numbers and things, about just what wasn't given. As a I thought that would mean another thing, basically. To And basically what it all amounts to is her really, really well crafted and very easy to get, and then over and over and over, more and more and more, as she goes up through the years, evidence based, of why someone who is, African American, has just generations of being given less of a shot. So you can be sitting, in your house in Philadelphia, or Boston or New York or wherever, and you can be thinking, I don't want to put this on the application because I don't want special treatment. Um, I I certainly was. I also dissented from that decision yesterday, but, I don't think that I fully got, um, all as much. I learned a lot from reading this, and I almost, um, I should. I'm sure that that someone out there has written something similar, and I'm sure that for women, for veterans, for just about what has happened, um, that has made it, even if you yourself feel like, well, I haven't suffered myself, for being a woman. I myself haven't I don't feel like I've taken any hits along the way. So why do I deserve to check this box? Um, yeah, I I I I feel that way. I see you. I totally see you. I'm here too. Um, this explanation for, in defense of affirmative action, and defense of actual, special consideration being given to race in college admissions. Um, it makes you feel fully that, no matter what your actual family background for the last 25, or I guess if you're applying to college, 18 years has been, um, by the end of reading this document, you're like, oh my God, we have been screwed with in every possible way, and set back. And there's pretty much no way that this doesn't in some way apply to my family. And, that may be a big, depending on who you are, and what kind of minority, you know uh certification type thing that you're applying for, or whatever box you're checking and saying, this is me. um I fit into this category. Maybe give me, some quote unquote special treatment, because of something, that's happened along the way. Maybe not even to me. That does feel weird. But at least for me, it helped to read. Obviously, obviously I'm not African American. I'm not applying for college right now. Um, but just reading this really well set out explanation for um, why affirmative action was should be a thing still. I guess really helped me. It really resonated with me about what. Well, hold on. If this is true for this, and I totally believe that it is, maybe this is also true for the places where I feel like I'm claiming something that, oh, I didn't serve enough. I'm not woman enough. I didn't suffer enough. I didn't,
Yeah, it's a weird
whatever. But
mindset.
just, maybe, maybe some of us probably don't need like 17 pages of like carefully articulated history to be like, I'm who I am, and I deserve what I deserve. But I do. It helps me. I don't know. I like facts, and history, and I don't know, whatever it is that especially for veterans who, I mean, my God, like signed up to serve our country. We have a all volunteer force right now, um, and you did it, and you took time away from your like quote unquote real life, and you made that your real life. Guess what? You qualify for health care, you qualify for benefits, you qualify um, for help if you start your own business, you qualify for so much that you may not even know about. I was reading something today that was pretty sobering about qualifying for healthcare and people, veterans not realizing that they do. Um, doesn't you don't It's not about like, oh, I wasn't hurt bad enough. It's not about, oh, this isn't bad enough. Um, if this like gets to anyone out there, for God's sakes, claim your health benefits, and your mental health benefits, and any opportunity that is thrown at you, because you have damn well earned it as a veteran. And then the people like me who are I'm born a woman. People are born the race that they are. Um, give yourself some grace. Give yourself a chance to allow a system to help you. There are so many different ways that we are perfectly accepting of. Yeah, I'm this is it's 28% interest now on credit card. If I want JetBlue, JetBlue to give me a credit card and give me frequent flyer miles, I'll take 20%, 28% interest. Sure, fine, whatever. But then someone from the same, from the government says, you may have some special, there's some special money set aside for woman-owned small businesses. Go for it, Kirby. Maybe you deserve it. And I go, oh no, I don't deserve that. I don't. Why don't we take the good as easily as we take the bad? We're so ready for rules and punishments and regulations and things that are hard, especially in finance, and money, and we're so ready to be suckered into it. But it's really hard to believe that there could be something that will help you either dig your way out of debt, or financial counseling that actually could help you figure out where your spending habits are coming from, that maybe a place you had no idea about. And why are we so obviously there's a stigma to asking for help, and that should go away. That should go away right now. But we are, as a society, very not willing to believe that that there could be help out there, that's something good. And then if it's dangled in front of us, like, hey, apply for this certification, you could, we don't want it because we think we didn't earn it. We didn't earn it hard enough. We didn't suffer hard enough for it. It doesn't I tell my 7-year-old, it's okay to cry. Life is allowed to be hard. But the flip side of that is that life is allowed to be good too. Things are allowed to be easy sometimes. And not, this SBA certification is not easy to get because it's a computer system that's kind of whacked. But things are allowed. You're allowed to succeed and not look at yourself and say someone else is doing better than me. You're allowed to have wins and celebrate them, which is something I'm really working on right now, because we as a business and as a family have a lot of debt coming out of COVID. And it's so stares me in the face every month. So as a business owner, I have to take a second and say, instead of saying that money that just came in, yeah, that's going to go to the the SBA disaster loan, which we also got. So I can only say good things about that because it's a very low interest rate loan, and it saved us. But before I sort of say, oh, that money doesn't count because it's going towards paying that loan, or it's going towards paying other debt. um I should maybe take a 5 minutes and say, oh my god, an Air Force base in Japan and one in Kansas and one in this and one in that, they trust our materials enough to order them for their people to help them, but they're putting their information on there, for everyone to see that they ordered it. And it's me. This is my company, and this is my product that I designed. Maybe I should, give myself 15 seconds to celebrate that before
Yeah.
I go, oh well, that money, that's going to the pot of money that's for debt. So that sucks. That doesn't count. That's not a win. Well, guess what? It's a win. But I mean, even just like this week, that's like my personal mantra to myself is for the love of God, like give yourself a break and celebrate the wins.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
I think that's advice we can all use. You know, especially now, a lot of people are going through hard times, whether that be financially, mentally, health wise. Um, and I appreciate you sharing so many of your personal stories and your insights and aspects of, things you've had to face and deal with and learn from. Um, and a positive is having you share all of that, and it's going to touch somebody out there who's listening. And it'll pay dividends in their life. And I think only going up from here, because I've seen, you know, from the very early interactions between freelance corporal Brandon, you and I, to now, there's been growth and positivity all around, and I've learned things from you. Hopefully you've learned things from me. I'm not
Yes.
necessarily the best
Yeah.
teacher, but I wanted to wrap up just a little bit about you, some of the things that you're planning on doing in the future, and how people can find out more about you and what you're doing.
So it is my fervent hope that Freelance Corporal and Advantage Publications will have a collaboration of some sort in the future, but I can't really talk too much about that. I can just say it is my fervent hope that that happens. Um, I am working very hard on a lot of custom materials that will hopefully address some of the issues that are very close to my heart, among them veteran suicide and the military financial readiness of um, really, really young recruits, and who are just not being not being given they didn't come into it with enough financial education, and then it sort of goes downhill from there, or it plateaus. So I'm trying to create materials that are really accessible and interactive, and hopefully motivating, enough to not to solve the whole damn thing. You can't do that. I don't think that any one type of product or service or anything can, but if we can get people to the point um, where they go from being completely, well, this information is going to tell me I'm fucked and I feel like I'm fucked, so I'm just going to allow that to be the situation, to, huh, I have some power. I just learned that I have some power over this. And what's more, I now feel like, because I learned that, I feel a little less ashamed. I feel a little less helpless. And maybe I'm going to go the next step and ask for help. Because especially in the military, there are actual financial counselors, right there. And in our lives as civilians, that's not, we go and to AFCPE, and look for an AFC, a certified financial counselor, because you will be able to find one, and they're wonderful. But I'm hoping that we'll be able to reach those populations, and others, and for every other person, and people in those populations, and everybody, please, come to our website. It's at www.advantagepublications, at the end.com. You can request free samples of our products. I will send them to you. They come in a little envelope. It's
I have
really,
a few of these floating around the
really
house still.
cute. Like literally, I'm thrilled to send them to you. It's not just because like maybe you'll buy some. It's not about that. It's really, I hope that it helps. I hope that it helps in some way. I don't know which one. Maybe down the road you keep it in a drawer or something, and down the road you realize, oh yeah, there's that thing, I want to look at that, or my sister could use that. Great, awesome, like do that. I feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Kirby Williams. I think it's like Kirby Williams 1 or something. It's very easy to find because I'm the person with the bright red hair. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions about certification, or really anything, because I love to engage with basically any kind of topic. I may not have a million hours, or I may, but it we should talk about all these things. I mean, if something rang a bell for you, and you feel like I'd be the right person to talk to, or even the person who might know the right person to talk to, you should, like message me. I'm here. I'm here with like, a whole bunch of cats and calculators, and, just like, I know I have met a lot of amazing, amazing, amazing people who know so much more than I do, including you and Brandon and the whole team. And we all bring completely different things and some of the same things to the table. And so therefore, hopefully we're all going to work together. And the big government agencies will let some of us in to help, provide more perspective, or whatever to the equation, to what they're offering as well. But my big message, in my long speech, is just, come to our website, ask for samples, ask me questions, email me. There's a thing on the website. I'm on LinkedIn. I just opened a TikTok account today because of
There we go.
Markia. She
Let's
convinced
go.
she convinced me. So maybe coming soon, there'll be some like ridiculous, probably cat related content from me. Because
Like you said, cats and calculators. That's all. That's all
I
we need.
mean, yeah, I mean,
Kirby's
yeah.
got it
What's
all.
funny is that you can see like in the background, there's like calculators, and it's very like academic looking. The parts that you can't see is all cat trees, and like this is the two youngest cats' room. So there's like the room in the background for the, yeah. It's like it's their room, and this is like the pretty little section here, but the rest of it is all just like cats.
Kirby cats and calculators. And
Yeah,
thank you so much for
thank you
giving
so
me some of your
much.
time. And I would love to have you again in the future. You've
Yeah,
been
I mean, God,
such a
I'm
blessing.
I talk a lot. Liberal arts education, it helps you think for yourself, but you talk a whole bunch. I'm sorry.
All right, everybody. That's it for this episode. And just follow for more content. If you enjoyed this interview or any of the things that we talked about, please feel free to discuss below. Awesome. You have a great one.